guys, welcome back to another episode of Binging and Bickering. This week, Dan and I are talking about a character, or rather a franchise, that's near and dear to a lot of our hearts. As you can see, Dan's holding a fucking wand, and we are talking about...
I have lots of them.
Yeah, because he gave me an
I
elder.
I brought one for you, too. I almost wore my Gryffindor scarf, and I went to Universal Studios and I didn't buy a robe because, like, my uncle was like, "If you get that, I'll make fun of you." He's like, "What's the purpose of that?"
My segue question was going to be,
the
what
Harry
does-
Potter series.
Yeah,
We never said it. The Harry Potter series. We're talking about Harry Potter.
either way.
Yeah.
My segue was going to be kind of, what does this mean to you? But clearly, you've already talked about going to Universal and getting wands and robes. And...
So, this series is like the reason why I'm the way I am. Like, nerdiness, everything. Like, I wouldn't be into like video games, comic books, a bunch of like different like movie franchises. It all started with Harry Potter. It was the first thing that I like fell in love with. It helped me learn how to read. My mom introduced it to me at a very young age, and I like grew up with it. I grew up going to the book midnight releases at Barnes and Noble, which were so cool. Like, people just dressed up and they had like all of like the candy and like food, and then the books would drop at midnight. And then the movie midnight releases, they don't have movie midnight releases anymore, just because of the Dark Knight Rises thing. But like the movie midnight releases, they were actually at midnight. It's not the Thursday night show at 7 p.m. They were midnight. And it's just like, like just growing up as like a young kid and like having these books alongside of you. It's like, it helped me mature into who I am. Like, I don't think like, my personality is the way it is without this series.
Yeah, our age especially grew up with the characters, so I think that's why it means a lot to so many of us.
Right.
And there's a lot to talk about with this franchise. We think we designed a pretty fun episode.
Yeah.
Good introductory. It's not going to be the only one we do because there's so much.
We already
to
said
nerd
we're going to
out.
have at least 2 parts of our Harry Potter
we'll do
episode
another
because
one.
there's so much to talk about. And, I know we both love talking about Potter.
Yeah.
So, to talk about this franchise in any form of media is exciting for me. So, let's roll right into it. Let's get into part 1 of our Harry Potter binging and bickering episode.
Yeah, we might have to keep these so we can like
actually
point it out.
Like, I'm in.
All right, so we're gonna start with most underappreciated witch or wizard, and let's do both light and dark because there's so many characters in this fucking franchise.
All right,
that to pick from. I'll kick it to you. We'll start with the light. Who would you say is the most underappreciated character? Because we all know the trio. They're all great. Dumbledore's great. Snape's great. Those are the usual fan favorites. But who would you say outside of the traditional picks?
I would say that Remus Lupin is probably the most underappreciated light side or light wizard. He's in my top 5 characters in Harry Potter just in general. Like, I've always loved his character. I think he has such a he's kind of a tragic character just because like he's such a heartfelt, noble friend to James Potter and that nobility and that kind of father like figure Harry puts into Remus, and Remus is always a great character. J.K. Rowling added like a backstory to him on Pottermore.com, and like just the story about his parents died, and he got bitten by a werewolf when he was like a baby, so he transforms into a werewolf, and he's like it kind of forced him to be a very like timid, low-key guy, but he's still like, even though he takes his wolfsbane potion and he's like good like every moon cycle, he still has the occasional bad month, and but still remains like a father figure to Harry throughout the books until his end.
I would agree. He's who I put down. Rightfully so. Everybody loves Gary Oldman's Sirius Black.
Mhm.
But Remus was the one that taught Harry his Patronus.
Right.
He's there long after Sirius dies. And like you said, he has a tragic backstory of his own. And he gets killed off screen. And I know that's the point, is like, oh, there's so much death around Harry, it's hard to comprehend. But he deserved better. You couldn't have seen him and Kingsley fighting and him get fucking killed. Like, you just walk past Remus dead on the ground. It's like, what?
That's how it is in the book too. It's kind of like it shows like the toll of war. You know, it's like, because in that scene in both the movie and the book, Harry walks into the Great Hall and there's just rows of bodies, and and one of them is Remus, and you know, Tonks, his wife, and it's just like, holy shit! Like, you know, like while Harry was off doing this thing, there were so many other things going on, and Remus just had to be one of them.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but great character. He transforms into a fucking werewolf. You know, David Thewlis is awesome.
Yeah, but he
kind of comes across as more of like a cool uncle than more of
a
father
it goes to show what he means to Harry, because almost immediately after Remus's death and Harry goes to face Voldemort in Deathly Hallows, he uses the Resurrection Stone, and 4 people show up for him to help guide Harry to like his, you know, demise. It's his mom and dad, Remus and Sirius.
He does get that moment. That's true. That's a big one.
So Remus like does mean that much to Harry. He's the first person Harry meets that was a friend to his mom and dad, and like I feel like Harry had that big time attachment to him. And after Sirius dies in Order of the Phoenix, the movie version is so powerful.
Yeah.
Because Remus is the one who goes and grabs Harry to like keep him from going to chase after Sirius, or go to keep him from chasing after Bellatrix. Like, it's like he just lost like his last like best friend. Remus
and he's there for
Harry, and like he's holding him, because like Remus felt the loss just as much as Harry did.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
I'd say some other notable ones are Mad Eye, because the only reason is what you see of Mad Eye is not him, really. It's Barty Crouch, and you briefly see him in a couple of scuffles after that. He gets killed off screen as well, but it's not him in Goblet of the Fire. It's Brendan Gleeson doing a hell of an acting job, but he's not in it. So I would throw him under there. Who are... If we're just to
I would
round
say
it out.
Tonks too.
Tonks is underrated.
Awesome.
Kingsley's hung.
Kingsley's
Basically all the
awesome.
Order of the Phoenix is cool.
I think Luna. I mean, I feel like people like Luna a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like Luna definitely has a following, but in terms of I don't know if like I've ever heard somebody say like Luna is my favorite character. I think I like Luna a lot. Her quirkiness like really adds to like Harry's like, friend group and whatnot.
Should we shift over to Dark?
To Dark, yeah.
I know mine.
Go ahead with yours, because like
I'm gonna say Narcissa Malfoy.
Okay.
Yeah, she's fucking awesome, because she's not introduced until later into the series, and what you know of the Malfoys to that point is, you know, Draco and his dad suck, but then you see his mom, and the first thing she's doing is doing the unbreakable spell with Snape and Bellatrix to protect her son. And then you kind of see bits and pieces of her until the end in Deathly Hallows Part 2, when Harry sacrifices himself and she doesn't sell him out. She just wants to know if her son's okay. And she finds out, she says Harry's dead. And so she kind of is part of the reason that they win at the end. And the moment when Harry is found to be alive at the Battle of Hogwarts and all the Death Eaters start leaving, and you just see her take her 2 boys and just walk the fuck out.
Right.
She's like, we're done here.
Like, she has her arm around Draco. She kind of lets Lucius like follow. Like, it's like, if you're gonna come with us, come, because I'm taking our son and we're getting the fuck out of here. Like, I like that, because you know it's cool that there's kind of this parallel between Draco's mother and Harry's mother in a sense. I mean, like,
yeah, that's true.
Like Draco's mother keeps him safe. All she wants to know is that he's safe. And Harry, earlier before in the Battle of Hogwarts, saves Draco just because Harry is a noble character. He does the right thing and saves Draco, even though he had just tried to kill them and sell them out. And because of that, it helped Harry be able to tell Narcissa that her son is okay and alive and well, and it helped Harry out to be alive and well and help defeat Voldemort. So
Yeah, I just like her protecting her cub, that kind of aspect to her character. They do a lot with her in a pretty short amount of time. She has a big impact.
Yeah.
For being rather minute. Do you have a different one?
I do. He's makes an appearance in the movie, but he has like a deleted scene and he's off. He has a bigger role in the final book, the Deathly Hallows book. It's Phineas Nigellus. He's a great like uncle or something of Sirius, just because the Black family has this big like tree. He was a former headmaster of Hogwarts, so he has a painting in the headmaster's office at Hogwarts because every former headmaster of Hogwarts has a painting in like Dumbledore's office. Phineas, the other side of his portrait is in Grimmauld Place. Hermione takes down that painting of Phineas, puts it in like her bag, and then Phineas like goes on the journey for Horcruxes in the end with Harry, Ron, and Hermione in Deathly Hallows. He is able to become like a spy for them, even though like he's like crude and like he just like makes all these comments about how like Harry's an idiot and stuff like that. But he becomes an ally. But he was like a Slytherin. He was like a bad headmaster. He was a bad guy. But then he ends up. He's the first one to vouch for Snape in Deathly Hallows. Like once, like after like the doe appears in the woods and like people and Harry finds like Gryffindor's sword out in the middle of the woods. Phineas is the one that tells him like no, like Snape is the one who. Snape is the sword in Snape's office is like a fake. Like he said, like I saw like Snape like take out the sword and replace it with a fake one like a couple months ago or whatever. And like then like Phineas ends up being like a guide because once Dumbledore died, a painting of Dumbledore appeared in the headmaster's office. Dumbledore's painting was able to like communicate with Phineas's painting, and Phineas like was able to communicate to like Harry, Ron, and Hermione. So like he has a big role in the books.
I can see how they.
I can see how that gets left out, but he's like a key in the 7th book, and I feel like he's like he's the character. Once you go back and read it, he's the one that is like the Harry's liaison. As much as he doesn't want to be, Phineas's painting like ends up being a liaison between Snape and the kids and Dumbledore and the kids. Snape is actually the one that like that checks in with Phineas and says like where are they, and then Phineas is like, oh, they're in the Forest of Dean. So then Snape goes and puts the sword in the Forest of Dean. Like so Phineas like helps out a lot, even though like he doesn't want to. And I feel like even though he's a Slytherin and even though he was a bad headmaster, he ends up redeeming himself and helping out the trio.
We both took like cop-out answers of people who end up like working for the light in some way.
But that's what makes them that's what makes them unique.
Yeah.
And
like we're not picking pious
characters. Like no, I'm not gonna pick thickness. I'm not gonna pick Yaxley. I'm not gonna because like they're just they're like one note characters kind of. They're just bad guys. And I'm not gonna pick Voldemort. I'm not like
Fenrir Greyback's hung.
Yes.
But that would be the only but he's not developed or anything.
Yeah, he just doesn't talk much. He's just, a guy.
So we'll go to our next segment, which is if you were put yourself in the shoes of a student going to Hogwarts, what would be your ideal class and who would you want to teach it?
I mean, Defense Against the Dark Arts is like hands down like the coolest class at Hogwarts. I think we can both agree on that. And although like Remus is like one of my favorite characters, and I would love to get taught by him because I think like throughout the books, I think like the best teacher is like Lupin.
Yeah.
But I think I would want a Defense Against the Dark Arts class, whether it's by like Barty Crouch Jr. in disguise as Mad Eye Moody, or a real Mad Eye Moody teaching the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, because I feel like he's like
I see a glass classroom.
the old crazy teacher that has stories to tell. Like he's seen some shit. He's lost his eye. Like I would want to be in his class because like you get to talk about like the unforgivable curses one day, like the next like you're being taught like kind of like illegal curses in class. Like he's like the cool teacher that like it's like, oh, we can't fire him because he's old, like he has
tenure.
He's got tenure, like we can't fire him. Like I would love, because I feel like
he's throwing chalk at students and
yeah,
fucking
like I feel
Avada Kedavering spiders.
I feel like Moody's class would be like really fun. Like I feel like that would be, it's like I know I just had Lupin like the previous year, but this year like we're gonna have like an off the hinges class. Like you're walking in the door and you don't know what you're gonna see like that day. So I think I would Defense Against the Dark Arts hands down, and then I guess you could like fill in whatever teacher you want. But I would want Moody because I feel like his classes could get off the rails, and I love teachers that are just kind of like crazy.
Could you imagine you see your teacher like just chugging potions in the middle of class? Like, what is he drinking?
Yeah, like Harry in the fourth movie is like, I don't think it's pumpkin juice. It's like, no, it's not. It's polyjuice potion.
Yeah, Defense Against the Dark Arts would be awesome, but I took it more from a professor perspective, because I think good professors, good teachers make good classes regardless of the subjects. Like I hate math, but I've had good math teachers that I've enjoyed their classes. Sure. So I think Transfiguration with McGonagall would be a good class, but that's like not what I'm going with. Yeah, okay, she's a goat teacher. Potions with Slughorn. Because the same thing, Slughorn is another one of those teachers that I just want to pick that guy's brain.
Right?
He's such a fucking weirdo and a nut. Like maybe he slips up one day and says something he shouldn't.
Right.
Or like,
well, and he picks his favorites. Like if you do well in his class, or like if you or if like you
he feeds you fucking dinner.
Yeah, like if you do well in his class, or like your family's like famous, like he's gonna like pick you out as a favorite.
Yeah.
And I think at one point in time
he's underrated too, by the way.
Oh yeah. I think at one point in time everybody in school has been like a teacher's, like not a teacher's pet, but at some point in time you've had a teacher where like they like like you're like their favorite student. That's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
It really is. Like you go to school, like majority of the time, like you hate it, but like when you go to a class where like the teacher like is gonna, you do well in the class, the teacher's gonna like use you as an example, or like, like the teacher doesn't have to worry about you. Like that's the kind of teacher that's like awesome, because you can kind of just like relax for like 50 minutes.
Yeah. And I was never a science person. So like chemistry, didn't really enjoy it when I took it, but I love the idea of doing potions with Slughorn, because I feel like he would get me interested in potions. Although it'd be a hard class. Remember fucking Hermione couldn't even succeed in it.
Right. So you'd need like, if you find a tattered old book that looks like nobody wants it, pick that one in the cupboard.
One of my favorite moments in Half-Blood Prince is when Harry's probing for questions and he just goes, nothing to do with him being a teacher, but it's just, Dumbledore put you up to this, didn't he?
Didn't he?
It's like the only time you see him get fucking pissed off.
Yeah. And
it's when he's asking about Horcruxes. I don't think I'll cross that boundary.
It's like that. Yeah, that's not like a light subject.
Yeah.
Like you can't just casually bring up like the most evil dark objects in the wizarding world like casually.
Yeah. So I think I'd go with Slughorn.
Yeah.
But
that's a good choice. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Hagrid would probably be my next one. Like Caraman. I know Hagrid
just to get outside.
I know like Hagrid's not like the most like. I mean, the books get more into it than the films do, but like Hagrid isn't the most like easygoing teacher, just because he thinks like just because he knows it, like his students might know it, but he brings in some cool shit into class. Like he has interesting lessons, and I think like getting outside.
It's like a
when you're locked
PE
up
class.
Yeah, right. Like it's kind of like gym. You get to get outside. You get to work with awesome creatures, sometimes dangerous ones, but
I just want to hang out with Fang, his dog.
Yeah, or Buckbeak.
Yeah, get your fucking like arm eaten off or something.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to, to number 3 on our board, which is the most epic or shocking moment. This is intentionally ambiguous. There's so many great moments throughout these movies.
Mhm.
So many shocking moments, so many character deaths, so many awesome duels. What are you going with?
Consistently, my favorite moment um, throughout Potter books, movies, video games. The end of Prisoner of Azkaban, where he goes back in time with Hermione using the time turner, and he sees himself across the lake, casting the Patronus, a full corporeal Patronus as a stag. His father's Patronus is also his, and like past Harry like thinks that it's him, and then in the moment Harry's just like, I need to do something. I need to do something. Like it wasn't me. It wasn't my dad. It was me.
Yeah.
And then he just does it. Like it's one of the things that makes Harry like an awesome heroic character because like he, like he explains it in the 5th book and movie. Like he's like, I just got lucky, or like a lot of it was just instinct when you're faced with these situations. Like people talk about it like it's legend. Like when he's kind of hesitant teaching like Dumbledore's army in the 5th,
Yeah.
He's just like he's like it's just instinct. Like you don't know what you're going to do when you're faced with death, or like when you're watching somebody you love and care about like die. It's one of the it's one of the more iconic Harry Potter moments, but also like I think it shows why Harry's an awesome hero and an awesome character. Is because spur of the moment, he knows he's not really good at the Patronus charm, but then because he's witnessing himself, he thought it was his dad, but then realizes it was him, casts his most powerful Patronus yet, and like saves himself and Sirius, and takes on like 100 Dementors,
Yeah.
maybe more, like as like a 13-year-old. Like I just love that moment. It's great.
That's a great one. The reveal of earlier in that movie of Peter Pettigrew with Sirius and Lupin in the Whomping Willow, that scene's fucking great too. Snape comes in, but that's a good moment in that movie for sure. I would probably. We didn't address this. If my breathing or anything's weird, I have some wicked allergies, so I apologize if that's been
allergies have been really shitty
horrible
lately
on the mic.
for us and
20 minutes
other
in.
people. Yeah,
But
whatever.
yeah. Anyway, I would say I know the movie isn't the book reader's favorite, which is Order of the Phoenix. Like book readers tend to not gravitate towards that one, but the entire last act of that movie at the
awesome.
Ministry is phenomenal. So when they're searching for the prophecy, that's great, but then the battle when Bellatrix kills Sirius, but mine's still not that moment. It's after when Dumbledore and Voldemort have their battle. It's like 2.5 minutes, and it's like the coolest 2.5 minutes of the entire saga.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have come here tonight, Tom.
Dumbledore is such a badass dude. Like, and I love before that because Dumbledore goes into hiding because like the Ministry wants to arrest him for like treason, for like lying to his students and saying that like he created this army to like overthrow the Ministry. He disappears, like he apparates with like Fox, his Phoenix, and just like gets the hell out of Dodge, and then he's gone for, in the book, months, and then in the movie like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, he uses the Flu Network, he knows exactly when to be there, and
their battle with fucking snakes on fire.
Yeah.
Shards of glass being thrown at each other, the spinning fucking like typhoon or whatever you want to call it that he uses, like it's just so cool. And
such a cool like set too, because I know like
the Ministry looks awesome.
That was the first time David Yates directed a Potter film, and like when I first read that book, that was like I could like that was like the perfect like like that was what the Ministry of Magic looked like in my head, and like David Yates made that come to life, and what a beautiful backdrop to
Yeah.
that duel.
The set is awesome.
Yeah.
Then after they fight, Voldemort tries to possess Harry,
Hmm.
and Harry fights him off. Fudge shows up, and he sees Voldemort leave, and he's just like, he's back, and everyone's like, no fucking shit, Fudge.
Yeah, right.
Like, so that whole sequence is, I could say that last act, but it's kind of a cop out answer. But that bit of time where it's just Voldemort, Harry, and Dumbledore. Bellatrix is in there. Harry uses Crucio
Yeah.
on her before it, one of the unforgivable curses. So I would say, yeah, the end of 5 is pretty awesome.
And
The tear sequence with Snape would probably be my number 2.
Oh yeah, I mean that is probably the most shocking moment in the entire saga. I mean, like the first time anybody read that or saw that, Snape being a good guy, whether you thought that he was the entire time or he wasn't, that moment was incredible.
Mhm.
Like finding, like he is the most tragic Harry Potter character for sure. And like that moment, just that Prince's Tale chapter in the book and like that whole segment in the movie is just so heavy. Like it's so awesome just to find out that Snape lived like his entire adult life protecting Harry, but also hating Harry because he looked like James, but he couldn't get himself to completely hate him and despise him because he was Lily's son.
Yeah.
And like he was in love with Lily, and everything he did was to protect him and to protect Dumbledore, because Dumbledore did everything in his power to try and help Lily and James, but failed. So Dumbledore said, keep their son safe.
Yeah,
Help me
that,
help
like-
me keep their son safe.
What's that scene? It's like 6 or 8 minutes, something like that.
And I'm so glad it got that time, because that to me is like the best written chapter that J.K. Rowling wrote. That chapter was amazing, and it's a kind of a quick chapter. I think it's only like 25 pages, but the amount of stuff they go through in like 25 to 30
Yeah, and it
pages
goes
is just
from-
amazing.
It goes from Dumbledore being this iconic hero to, you kind of switch your gears a little bit, and you're like, I still like Dumbledore, but he's kind of a shithead.
Yeah.
In comparison to Snape. I mean, they both have their faults, but you
But
look at both
you find
characters
out the
differently. It's
you
very
find
important.
out all the flaws in Dumbledore's, because up until Deathly Hallows, Dumbledore is like this godlike figure. You know, he's supposed to be like the Gandalf to Harry's Frodo. Like he's like, or the Obi-Wan to Luke, or to Harry's Luke. Like he's the old wizard figure. There's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't have flaws. Like he always shows up in the right moment. He always knows the right answer. You find out in Deathly Hallows, Dumbledore is a very flawed character. You find out his family history. It's not so fine and dandy in the Dumbledore family. And his hubris gets ahead of him a lot. It's like he regrets being wrong a lot. And like you don't find that out until 7, where he like apologizes to Harry. He's like, Harry, you're just a young boy, but you're more magnificent than I could ever be.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of revealing moments for Dumbledore in 7 as well.
I'll throw one more in there. When the battle at Malfoy Manor, when Bellatrix kills Dobby, that one's really fucking sad.
R.I.P. to a real one, Dobby.
I didn't mention him in underappreciated because he gets his due for sure.
Dobby's death
comes
is like
full
more
circle.
sad than a lot of other
Yeah.
people's. Because I think so. Dobby's supposed to appear a lot more than he does. So like the movie watchers, you get Dobby in Chamber of Secrets, and then he comes back in Deathly Hallows. He pops up a lot more in the books, which, like, not to say that his death in the movie isn't as heavy and sad as it is in the book, because it certainly is. But like Dobby ends up like working as like a chef in Hogwarts, and like he's able to help Harry a lot more. And then after Sirius dies, Harry becomes like the master to Creature,
Yeah.
and like
Love Creature.
and so like Creature and Dobby in the 6th book help Harry like figure out what Harry asks them to like follow Draco around, and so Harry can like figure out what Draco's up to. And so like Dobby appears a lot more, but Dobby, he's not an underappreciated character.
No,
Everybody loves him.
full
He gets
circle,
his due.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
takes Bellatrix's wand.
He's
It's so funny.
He's the one, like, he just snaps. Like elf magic is like a lot more powerful than wizard magic in some ways, and like that's just funny. He's the one who wakes up Harry to get to the second Triwizard task on time.
Oh, okay.
It's not it's not Neville who tells Harry about Gillyweed and like it is in the movie. It's Dobby.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't hate that because that kind of helps Neville because you definitely see he evolves with Harry.
Right,
but
exactly.
anyway, I think we covered our basis on the yep. And then we'll go to with this question basically you want to touch tips? Rub it around a little bit.
Like,
nice.
You were holding one of the Deathly Hallows.
Oh yeah. What I was gonna say was if you could have, our question just says Deathly Hallows ? If you could have a Deathly Hallow, which one would you want? And Dan, first off, explain what the Deathly Hallows are if we have a novice viewer here.
So the Deathly Hallows are
upper corner.
3 magical objects that were granted to 3 brothers, the Peveril brothers, from death itself. And even though like in the wizarding world it's looked at as like a children's story, you know, I love how wizards are like, that's not real, but they're like wizards. But I like that aspect too, because like even in like the magic realm, like there are like crazy like
tall tales.
Myths and tall tales that can't be real. But they're the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand ever made. It's got a thestral hair as its core, and it's made out of elder wood.
Thanks, Ollivander.
Yeah. The Resurrection Stone, which was a stone that Death took from a nearby river and charmed that if you turned it in your hand, you'll get to see loved ones who have passed on. And the Invisibility Cloak, which is Death's own cloak, he tears off a piece of it and gives it to the youngest brother because Death is invisible and it sneaks up on you in unexpected times. So Death gave the youngest brother the ability to hide and turn invisible.
So those are the 3.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like most people are going to give similar answers, but it's still a fun question.
Yeah.
Which one would you go with?
Like, Invisibility Cloak for sure. Invisibility Cloak like is my one. But I would pick Resurrection Stone over Elder Wand, I think.
For sure.
But the reason I picked the Invisibility Cloak is because, like, in the Harry Potter world, like, there are ways to become invisible without an invisibility cloaks, and there are, like, cheap, like, replica invisibility cloaks that, you know, aren't as pure and good as like the actual invisibility cloak that Harry has and possesses. But being able to become invisible and like purely invisible and like just, you know, hide and you know, if you wanted to use it for misdeeds like stealing things or whatever, you could, or to just disappear out of a situation that you don't want to be in, or any of these other things. I feel like the everyday use for the invisibility cloak is probably the most useful. So that is probably why I'd pick it out of those 3 objects. And then Resurrection Stone is just because I'd like to see people that I've loved that have passed on again. And, you know, like, if I'm just a wizard and have a wand, I'd want my own wand and not a wand where people would try to kill me to take.
Right. the only people who are gonna fucking choose the Elder Wand are politicians.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I would rule out the Elder Wand as well. The invisibility cloak would be cool, but now that I'm thinking about it, not that I would use the resurrection stone, but I do like the idea of just you're bored and you want to talk to like people who have passed on and you could just fucking take it out
Yeah.
and rub on it. I like that. I do like that idea. I was originally going to go with the invisibility cloak, but even then I feel like that could stimulate bad behavior.
Yeah.
They all I mean they all have that like draw
Sure.
of misuse, but I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, the resurrection stone, being able to, talk to grandma and grandpa who have passed on or whatever. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's nice, I mean, like the legend in the Potter like storyline is that the guy who the brother who gets the resurrection stone, like he was engaged and his wife died at like a young age, and he just couldn't stand not being with her. Like he couldn't stand that he couldn't like touch her and feel her, and so he kills himself just so that they can like be together again. So that's like a sad existence, but like, if you don't think that you'd want to kill yourself to be with those loved ones, I think the resurrection.
Yeah, I think I'd be okay.
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
That's an extreme example, JK.
But to move away from like the Deathly Hallows, I mean, invisibility cloak could probably be my second choice of things that of the Harry Potter like universe that I would want to be real. First one is broomstick, without a doubt. Above a wand, above like anything, I'd choose a broomstick. Like I would want to fly.
You don't see height becoming a fear?
No, I'm not afraid of that.
Okay.
And like I would want to fly and travel like by broom. You get to wear like jeans and like hoodies all the time because you'd be up in the sky and it'd be cold up there. So like, yeah.
Interesting.
Since I was a kid, that's always been the number one thing that I've wanted out of Harry Potter. That if it were real, that would be the one thing I want.
Maybe that's what we should have opened it up to. It's just one thing.
The Deathly Hallows, though, focuses on three things, though.
Yeah.
And it's like it is an interesting topic because I think that's more telling of what kind of person you are.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like a good everyday use for the. Well, no, wands would have everyday use,
right,
of the Elder Wand.
Well, like in the books, like when Harry,
like when you could like just fucking clean up, you could throw plates and shit everywhere and just
right when you turn 17,
wave your wand.
When you turn 17 in the Wizarding world, like you get to use magic outside of Hogwarts, and like the first thing Harry does in the Deathly Hallows when he turns 17 is his glasses are on like a table like far away, and he just like Accios his glasses to him. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Just pure laziness. Like I'd use magic for.
Oh yeah, the remote's out of reach. Accio.
Yeah,
will be another one. Oh, someone's like giving you shit on the street and you like light them on fire.
Yeah,
that'd be funny. Okay.
Or you could just Avada Kedavra them and kill
yeah, exactly.
Crucio them.
That'd get even more sadistic.
Or Imperio them and turn them into your own personal slave.
All good options.
Yeah.
So
I think we should wrap it up.
That'll wrap up Potter Part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also comment if you are a fan of the franchise and feel ever so inclined. Answer who you think the most underappreciated character is. What class do you want to take? Who would your professor be? Your most epic and shocking moment. I'm sure we missed a bunch of them, so please let us know. And then, which of the Deathly Hallows would you want? And actually, we can open it up even more.
What magical object you would want?
Marauder's map would be cool.
Yeah, if it was like a map of not just Hogwarts.
Yes.
If it was like
then it'd be fucking useless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, And then, as well, you could follow Dan and I on Twitter, Instagram. We'll provide the links for that below. And if you like what we're doing, head on over to charactertheory.com, read some of our articles where we deal with characters on a more individual basis. And anything else? Am I forgetting anything? We're also on Spotify.
Our audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us on there, and leave your comments on there.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time.
Catch you next time, guys.
See you later.